So, so in the last class we've been seeing about the database table. The next one is while creating a table, we have an option called logging. Logging, or by default, the table would have the property as logging. You can set it to no logging also. For example, if you can do this in the, even in the UI when you say new table, here you can there's an option called what is no logging. So in the while creating the table with UI, you can set the table as no logging here, or with SQL you can set that as no logging here with the command also. Either ways. Now what happens when you set that by default the table is logging. So when the table is set by default as logging, what does it mean? The table is persistent, it's global, and data is persistent and data is global. Everyone can see the table, everyone can see the data in the table also. But when you set that as no logging, it means look at this. The table is persistent and global. The structure of the table is physical, and everyone can see that it's global. But the data is temporary and global. In the local table, what happens? Data was local to that particular session. But here the data is global, but the data is temporary. Temporary means it is not stored completely 100% for a longer period, and the table will be dropped. Like you can specify some retention period, say 300 seconds or whatever it is. Once the time period is lapsed, when the memory is completely used by 80%, this table will be dropped. That's why we said data is temporary. The table is physical, global. Data is also global. Everyone can see, but the data is temporary. When you say no logging, you specify the retention period, say 300 seconds or 600 seconds. After this time has lapsed, the table will be dropped when the physical memory is used by 80%. That is what you say, no logging. Okay. But we cannot see that effect, but still, if we just, so with the SQL command, when you're creating the table, should see some font here. Say create column table, so and so. So in the SQL, you use this command saying what? By default, this logging is enabled. But if you want to set it as no logging, we use a command say no logging. And with the keyword retention, you specify how many seconds the data should be retained. After this 300 seconds has been elapsed, and when the physical memory is completely used by 80%, this data will be dropped. That's why you're saying data is global but temporary. Once the physical memory is used by 80%, this data will be dropped. Okay. Now I just create this table and I insert. I won't see these records. Even if I open a different session, I can still see these records. What is good? Data is global. It can be available in multiple sessions, but this is temporary. Automatically, the data will be dropped when the physical memory is used by 80% and when the time is left. But for me, there's no scenario where it does use 80% of the RAM here on the data. Okay, when the main memory is completely used by 8, this table will be data will be dropped. That is what no logging. Okay. So when you feel this table is not so important, When the memory is getting filled and you want this table to be dropped out, then you go with what? No logging. And then auto merge. So while creating a table, I'm not performing merging now. While creating a table, you can set up the table for auto merge or disable auto merge. When you enable auto merge, what does it mean? The merge column table will need a merging process to move the data from Delta store to what? Main store. When you say auto merge is enabled on this table, you'll have a process called merge dog, which will constantly check the tables and merging based on the auto merge decision function. You remember? So whether you want the system to do the merging on it automatically or not. Do you want the merge dog to take care of merging on this table or not? If you enable auto merge dog will, the table is enabled so that if you enable a table for auto merge, your merge dog will be constantly checking your table. Whenever the auto merge decision function is satisfied, it does trigger the merging on the table. Now, for example, if I say this is a, so I'm just, this is my table. Suppose if I don't use this, say keyword no, it means what? Auto merge is enabled on this table. And if I say no, I'm disabling the auto merge on the table. So while creating the table itself, you can specify whether the auto merge should be enabled on this table or no. If you say no auto merge is not enabled. If you say auto merge, then auto merge is enabled. If auto merge is enabled, then what happens? Merging is performed when if you go to configuration. So you'll have a process called merge dog, which actually does merging on the table, but it actually performs merging only when what? Only when this auto merge decision function is satisfied. There is a condition here. When this condition is satisfied, it does do the merging. Otherwise, no. So you don't trigger merging at all. System will take care about triggering the merging automatically by using merge dog. But merge dog will perform the merging only when this auto merge decision function is satisfied. That is what enabling auto merge does. Let me show you. But now I'm saying what? No auto merge means what? Merge dog will not trigger any merging. I would like to do merging manually by myself here. Execute this. Let me insert something. So this table is created. I'm just inserting 4 records. Before I create, I just want you to see the table. Refresh. EMP merge. Okay. Right click and say open definition. If you go to the runtime information tab, you see the main store and what? Delta store. So let me insert these 4 records now. Did we enable auto merge or disable it? Disabled. So system will not do. I will have to do the merging on it. Execute this. And now 4 records will be there. Now what is the size of, look at this. Where is major size of portion? Until that logically should understand now the data is in what? In the delta store. So when does the data from delta store when you do the merging, right? But if I just keep inserting data, I'll not bother about merging. If I keep inserting data on it, sometime it does do the merging when if auto merge is enabled. But I have disabled the auto merge, I'll have to manually do the merging on my own. Okay, boss? Now when it comes to manually doing merging, there are multiple ways you can do. You can do a smart merge or you can do a forced merge. When if I do smart merge, what happens again? Look at this. Again, if I say perform merge on this table and smart merge on, if I say perform smart merge, then what happens? Smart merge again. Even for smart merge, it level, what is this here? Look at this. So when you say smart merge, what? When you trigger merging saying smart merge, it sends a token to the server to perform the merging. But merging is actually done only when smart merge decision function is satisfied. You getting what I'm saying? నాకు అది కాదు రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఇర్రెస్పెక్ట్ వెదర్ ద కండిషన్ ఇస్ సాటిస్ఫైడ్ ఆర్ నాట్ ఐ వాంట్ మర్జింగ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు డూ మర్జింగ్ okay which is what we call as forced merge, yeah? So I can do that with SQL also, we'll see that, but now I just want to do it with UI. Look at this, select this table, okay, right click on this table and you have option, what is here, perform delta merge. Same thing I can also do with SQL also. See, data manipulation state, we'll see that later, but say perform delta merge. So it says so and so will do the merging, say okay. So once the merging is done, if you say refresh, what has happened? Now the memory store size has increased and delta size has gone down. What does it mean? Now all the data has been moved from delta to main. Let's say again I insert some data for this 5 and now say what, 6, 7 and say what 8. Again I insert 4 records. Then what will happen? Again it does insert data into delta store. Okay. Again I would like to do merging. Right click and say perform delta merge. Okay. Let's say merging is done. Like this merge has been happening. Now I would like to observe the statistics of this merging. అంటే కొడుతున్నాం అయిపోతుంది కానీ ఇక్కడ అయింది ఏం చూడాలంటే I can see that. If you go to administration, if you go to system information, you'll have something called merge statistics here, where you can see all the statistics of your merge processes. See 7 cubics, what is this table? Did we do merging twice now? Just now, right click, say merge. It says on which server, what is the port, and what is the type you've done merging. 7 cubics on which table is EMP merge. If you go to right, merge, how many delta records were merged? How many records did, see, first time I inserted 4 records into delta, then I've done merging. So how many it has merged, how many records it has merged? First time 4, next time also what? 4 records, okay. And this is execution timing, seconds, okay. What is this? Here it will tell you what type of merge was it. Hard merge. That was hard merge. అట్లా మర్జ్ టైప్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఇంకా మిగిలిన కిందవన్నీ ఇట్ వాస్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇట్ హెస్ డన్ ఆటో మర్జింగ్. ఆటో అంటే సిస్టమ్ వాస్ డన్ ఇట్. అండ్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఐఎమ్ ట్రిగరింగ్ రైట్ క్లిక్ పర్ఫార్మ్ డెల్టా మోడ్, దట్ ఈస్ హార్డ్ మర్జ్. It when I say hard merge, it does not check any condition. It actually has to do the merging straight away. No condition to be checked again. So here we can see how many merges, all log of all the merging, how much time it has taken, and what type of merge was done on which table in the statistics. Okay. But I can also trigger smart merge now. You will not see that effect, data moving from delta to main, because you will see that effect only if the condition is satisfied. That's the problem. We'll see that later. Clear on this? Okay. Yeah, if you don't specify anything, by default auto merge is enabled on the table. So you have to explicitly specify no auto merge if you want to disable auto. Okay. Next, unload priority. Okay. Now, first of all, before we set the priority, do you know what do you mean by load and unload? So when you say load, it means loading the table from disk to main memory. And when I say unload, the data from the main memory is unloaded out. Means it is removed from the main memory. So we'll see these two statements in go to data manipulation statement. But for now, just understand load means loading the. If I say load this table, data from the disk is loaded onto what? Main memory for this table. If I say unload, the data from the main memory is dropped out. Smart merge. Generally for BW on HANA, we will use smart merge because there is a reasoning why. Because while loading data into the table, if the merging happens, both are contradictory statements, so there will be a lock wait. So we'll disable auto merge and try to do load, finish up your load, then trigger the merging. And it doesn't make sense to trigger merging even for small amount of records also. So I'll have a condition smart merging. Only when condition is satisfied, let it do the process. Otherwise, no need. So we'll prefer doing smart merge. I won't trigger manually, but I should want it to be triggered only when some condition is satisfied, not every time. So best practice would be smart merge. Okay. What? Oh, yeah. See, I can just right click on this table and say what is load into main memory and unload from main memory. When you say load, the data from the disk is loaded onto the main memory, and if it's unload, the table is dropped from the main memory. Okay, boss? Is this clear? Okay, good. Suppose let's say now you've done, you said load, boss. Then what happens? The data of this table is loaded into main memory, and when you run the report or query, it actually reads from where? From the main memory. Boss. That's straight away. You know this. Now let's say my table is not loaded into main memory. Let's say disk, and you're trying to run a query or a report. Then what it does? Since it does not find the table in the main memory, let's say the table has got 100 columns, but you're running the report only with 3 columns. What it does? It goes to the disk, reads data for 3 columns, and loads only those 3 columns, and then gets it to the report. During the first fetch, it will load it to the main memory automatically, like cache bus. First, let's say your table is in the disk, and you're trying to run a report where you're reading only 3 columns of the table. During the first fetch on the table, it will load those 3 columns alone to the main memory, and then that is used in the report. From next onwards, it will read from where? If you again run the report with the same 3 columns, it will read from main memory. We call that as partial loading. See, you have a concept of load and unload bus. When you bring the table from the disk to the main memory, is called loading, and when you remove the table from the main memory, it is called unload. When it comes to loading, we can do full load, partial load. When you say full load, complete table is loaded into main memory, and when you say partial load, only certain columns or certain data of a table is loaded into main memory. That is called as partial loading also. We'll control that all with the statements about loading. We'll have different syntaxes. We are not worried about now. Now the question is, while creating a table, you know about loading and unloading, which is what just bringing it to main memory or dropping it from main memory. While creating a table, we can set something called unload priorities. We can set something called unload priority. Unload priority, let's say the table is loaded into main memory bus. Now it is in main memory. But will it I have not dropped it, but will the system automatically drop some tables? Yes. When the memory is completely getting filled, it does drop some tables out from the memory automatically. Okay, boss. So which table should it drop? There might be some, say, 100 tables, but I might feel out of I want to control which table will be dropped. Out of 100 tables, let's say I feel there are some tables which are not really important. They can get loaded, unloaded from the main memory. So while creating a table, I can set the priority for the tables to be unloaded. The more the priority you have, that will be unloaded earliest. For example, I have some 100 tables. Out of 100 tables, for 10 tables, I set the unload priority as 9. About, let's say the memory is filled, it has to unload some tables. Now, which tables will it unload first? The tables with highest unload priority will be unloaded first to free up your main memory. As and when the tables are being fetched, it will be keep loading them into main memory automatically. Let's say at some point of time you feel that memory is being filled up. So system will automatically unload some tables, but when it is unloading, I would like to control only so these tables have to be unloaded first. So while creating a table, we can control that particular unload priority. Which table should be unloaded earliest? Getting this? So the tables which you feel which are not really used for reporting a lot, we will try to unload it faster. Yeah. Here. So, partially. General unload is done. When you're unloading, you just unload table. If it is been partially loaded, it will delete that. If it is fully loaded, it will delete that. You cannot control saying only drop certain columns is not possible. But when loading, you can say only certain column partial loading and full loading is, but while unloading you don't have. If you just say unload table, we cannot control that. So while creating table, you can specify the unload priorities. You can have from 0 to any number 9. Higher max is 9 and minimum is 0. And higher the number it is, it has to unload it earlier. The 9 at first load, later at 9. If I say there are some tables with 9 and so some tables with 8 and there are some tables with 7, then whatever. The tables with 9 will be unloaded first. If it still doesn't have satisfy the space requirement, then it will unload 8, then it comes to 7, then 6. The 0 and 10 never unload it almost. Okay, boss? So while creating a table, you can basically control the unload priority of the table. See, when you're doing this, you're not basically unloading or loading. We're only setting up the priority while creating a table. But if you really want to do load, unload, that is different manipulations, different statements. You use statements like load, unload. That is different. While configuring or while creating a table, you can control the priority of the unloading. Once the table is loaded, do you want the table to be unloaded earlier or bit later? That's what. Okay. So when I say 0 means what? This table will never be unloaded almost. Okay. I'll go with some 7 and just create. 5. Okay, so you can control the priority to be like this. Whether it is higher the number it is, it has to unload from the main memory faster, earlier. But loading, unloading, we will see when you get on to data manipulation statements. Don't worry. It's only about setting. How do we set up priority while creating a table? Yeah? Service, what is priority? 2 terabytes per one table, max. Max one table can hold 2 terabytes. Suppose if you have a requirement where my table should be beyond 2 terabytes, what you can do is, let's say I would like to have a table with 8 terabyte size. Then what you do, you create 4 partitions. Then each partition can go up to 2 terabytes. That is how you handle it. But max one table size is 2 terabyte. But again, the size of each partition can go to 2 terabytes. Suppose if I split up a table with 4 partitions, each partition can go up to 2 TB. That's how it is. There are some max limitations. I'll show you. Okay, boss. Yeah. Next is about partition. Okay. Next is about partitioning, boss. We know what partitioning. It's about splitting a table, but there are different types. See, partitioning of table is nothing but splitting the table into multiple blocks. So partitioning a table will improve query performance, will also improve your merging performance, will also improve your database sizing, will also help you to hold more data into it also. You'll have lots of benefits when you do part. One is reading performance is better. Sizing, we can store more data into each of the partitions and also improves your merging. Okay. Now when it comes to partitioning, we can do 3 types of partition: hash, range, and round robin. Hash partitioning, range partitioning, round robin partitioning. Hash partitioning ante em ledhu boss. Let's say you have a table and you partition this table by using hash partitioning. It means you straight away are saying divide this table. If I say using hash partitioning create 4 partitions, it means divide this table data equal into 4 blocks, 4 parts. And that in a distributed systems or in a multi-node architecture, if I have 4 index servers, I'll say create 4 partitions. Then each partition block will be in one index server. That is what hash partition. Dividing the data equal into multiple servers. That is what hash partition. In the same server, it will store 4 blocks. But generally, if you have 4 servers, they'll create 4. Partitions in the real time, I don't know how many servers I've got. If I've got, let's say 10 index servers, it has to create 10 more. Then I can say partitions, server number of function betage. Depending on how many number of servers we have, it will create so many partitions. Let's say I have a table. Instead of holding this table in a single server, I would like to partition the table across multiple servers so that update with the parallel reading, massive parallel reading వస్తుంది కాబట్టి it improves my query performance. So if I have 5 index servers, I would like to partition this table at 5 parts and then store each part in one index server. That is hash partition. So here you could say, and generally the partition is done on the primary key field of the table. And by using partitions, you can say 4 or how many you want. Generally, instead of saying 4, you can say server number of function. If we use this function, if I have 5 servers, it will create 5 parts. If I have 10 servers, it will create 10 parts automatically. నాకు ఇక్కడ అన్ని లేవు, ఉండేది ఒకటే కాబట్టి ఇప్పుడు నేను ఊరే సర్వర్ నంబర్ అంటే ఒక పార్టీషన్ క్రియేట్ ఇది, ఎందుకు నాకు ఉండేది ఒకే ఇండెక్స్ సర్వర్ కాబట్టి. సో ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ గోయింగ్ విత్ ఓకే బస్ UI, but you can do partition. Yeah, yeah. But for me, I don't have, we cannot see because nakunda the vote, but you can really see that also. I'll show you. First, I'll show you with, we can create partition with SQL like this. I'm just creating some table. So while creating table itself, we can specify the partitions to be created. So I'm just creating so-and-so. So create column table, so-and-so. Now with this, your table definition is done. I'm just using this keyword partition by what? Hash, and which column is used? Primary key column. So based on the primary key values, it will split equally. And how many partitions you want? Partitions 4. Instead of saying 4, if you want to split as per number of servers, then I can say server. Any index, if you have like say 5 index servers, if you want to do 5 partitions, then I would say what? Server number. Yeah. But here I'm just creating 4 partitions. And I'm just storing, I'm just inserting some 3 records. Now emp hash. So open the definition. If you go to here, runtime information, you can see what is partitioning specification. Hash, number of partitions 4, based on what? Employed. Now in the parts tab, you can see the actual partitions. Expand this 1, 3 and 4. And if you look, if you want to see the number of record count, in the first partition I have 1 record, and in the fourth partition I have 3. We cannot control it. The system will split it automatically in the partition. But all of them are in my same block. I think real time, if you have multiple, you can see the different ports being used. And if you see, and each partition will have different columns again. I have 4 partitions. Again, for each partition, you have separate block for each column. See, partition ID 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I got employee name column split for 4 partitions. Employee ID split for what? 4 partitions, column wise. Like this, you can create a partitions, hash partitioning by using the command or the SQL statement like this. We can also do partitioning with UI also. So I've just created a table, but while creating table, I'm not doing any partitioning. I would like to partition this table with using UI. Okay. So let's say the table is created normally like this, or I can create with UI. This table is created. So employee emp hash 01 is my table, and I would like to create partitions on this table, not with the SQL. I would like to do with UI. I can also do with UI. So what you do is you either right click on this folder tables, okay? You get the option as what? Show table distribution, or you right click on the schema, you get the option as show table distribution. Table either on the tables folder or on the schema, you get the option as what? Show table distribution. You can do merge, delete part, we'll see. And so show table distribution. It will show me all the tables. Monday in the table emp hash. ఇక్కడ చూపిస్తుంది చూడు EMP హ్యాష్ ఆల్రెడీ 1 2 3 4 ఉన్నాయి ఉంటుంది మన తెలియదు కదా. As of now, is there any partitions for this table? No, right? Select this hash 01, right click and say what? Partition this table. So when I say partition this table, you want to go with hash or round robin. You cannot create round robin using UI. It's only hash or range. Round robin has to be with SQL only. Either hash or what? Range. Niking only hash partitioning. Number of partitions equal to number of hosts. Depending on a distributed system. Partition server num annattuga. I don't that. I would like specify. Any all I want to have 4, okay, or 5, anything. I'll come to this. There's something called multi-level partitioning also. First, I'll split the table into 4 partitions or hash. Under each hash partitioning, again, I would like to have some year-wise partition. At multi-level, hash, I want to have what? 4 partitions and say what? Next, you want to do partition on which column? Employee ID and say finish. See now for hash 01, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can also see the partitions here. You just create 4 partitions like this. Even with UI, you can create your partition on the table. Hash partitions, okay. Then there's something called range. Now, which we are familiarized with this, right? Range partitioning ante. Generally, when you want to partition your table based year-wise, month-wise, or some quarter-wise or something, we use this option. Look at this. How do I do this? We can do all this with UI bus, but I'm just showing once with SQL and then once with create column table. So you'll have create column table and the table name and order ID, order date, some net cells, and the primary key is what? Order date and order ID and what? Order date. Even when you creating range partition, the column must be part of primary key. Okay. So I'm saying now once this table definition is done, I'm saying partition by what now? Range using which column? Order date. Now what is my partitions here? Partition. I need to have some values which is less than what? 2015 0101 and what and less than this and greater than this. What is it? 1st June. From 1st Jan till 1st June, I want one block. I gave a range. From 1st Jan to 1st June, there's one partition I want. There's one more, like this I can specify a range also, or I can also specify single value. Partition value is equal to 15th August. Okay, date. Single value partition cheyochu. I can also specify a range partition interval or and say what? Partition others means what? Anything which does not belong to either of this, it gets into partition others. 3 partitions. No, this is one partition which will have from Jan 1st to June 1st. And this is one partition which will have only date transactions which are created on 15th August only. And anything which does not belong to either of this get into others. Yeah. So I can create this way. Range part. If I open the definition of this, it says range partition. One is Jan 1st to June 1st, 15th August, and then star means what? Rest. You can see those 3 blocks and you can see the range. What is the condition of each of this? Okay. And then you can go about inserting some data based within the 1501, 1503, 15. Yeah. First block like next day was 15th August to 15th August. Sorry, 2015. So these two are between 1st of Jan to 1st of June. But this is on 15th August. So 15th August is what? Second partition. But these are 15th August 2016. So these have to go into what? Others. Others 3, first is the 2 is the next one. So others 3, this has got 1 and the range has got 2 records. Okay, this is like range partition. So now we've got date. Now can it also, by using this order, I have got date field in the table, but using date, can I derive month? If I give you date saying Jan 1st 2015, what is a month? Jan 2. So from the date you can derive month. Now can you, from the date, can you derive year? I can use some function like month of date, year of date, and then derive, right? So when I have a date, by using this function month of or year of, I can derive month or year, and then partition can be enabled on month wise or year wise also. See here, this table has got order date, but from the order date, I can derive another column saying month or year, and then partition on that column month or year. Got the point? Hmm. So this is my table. I'm saying what? Partition by range. Am I using this order date column directly, or I'm using the saying month of order date? So I'm using the function month of, which will, so what happens? It derives month based on the date, and then according to month, I'm partitioning it. So ఇప్పుడు జాన్ ఇది 2015-01 అంటే జాన్, ఇది 2015-06 అంటే జూన్. సో ఫస్ట్ నుంచి జూన్ కోటి, జూలై కోటి, అదర్స్ కోటి, సేమ్ అదే రేంజ్. And let me insert ఇది ఫస్ట్ 15th, ఇది జాన్ మార్చ్. సో ఈ రెండు ఎక్కడికి పోతాయి దాంట్లో? ఇది జూలై. సో ఆగస్ట్, సారీ 7 అంటే జూలై కదా, సారీ ఏదో పోతుంది దాని ఆ బ్లాక్ లేక పోతుంది. And this is all 2016, so this all should go into range part month. So one is from Jan to June and July and rest 3, 1 and 2. Even like this, you can derive month and do partition month wise. So I can, instead of writing SQL like this, I can also do range partitioning by using what? UI also. Let's say I do this. I have, but what are the column you're using for range partitioning also must be part of primary key. Okay. Okay. Range part UI, I would like to partition this table on the month wise or something. Right click on the table folder or schema, say show table distribution. Range part UI. If you have a lot of tables, you can do filtering here. I'll say range. It'll show only the tables with the name range. Okay, I can do filter like that and restrict. Right click and say what? Partition table. You want to do partition on what? Range. Okay. Say what? What do you say? Next. Now, what is the column you would like to use? You said you would like to do range partitioning. You would like to do range partitioning on which column? Click on this and say what? Order date. Would you like you do partitioning on the order date directly, or do you want to derive month and do partition on it? Let's say I would like to go with year, boss. Okay. Then I'll say drop down. You can say year of or month. If I say month of, then you start partitioning it on the month. If you say year of, then you start partitioning on the year wise, boss. Again, అప్పుడు in the year of this date function వేసుకుని the format will come as YOYY. ఇక్కడ ఫార్మాట్ చెప్తుంది నీకు, మంత్ పెడితే YOY-MM ఉండాలి అంటుంది. ఓకే, year of. So I would like, so now, and then when you go range, you can specify the range or single values also. Range అంటే ఇక్కడ యాడ్ అని స్టార్ట్ వాల్యూ ఏంది 2002 2005 కోటి, and then I'll say 2006 to say 2010 అట్ రేంజ్ ఓకే నాకు సింగిల్ వాల్యూ కావాలి కొన్ని 2011 కావాలి 2012 అట్లా యూ కెన్ గో విత్ ఇంటర్వెల్స్ యూ కెన్ గో విత్ సింగిల్ వాల్యూస్ ఆల్సో. చెక్ ఇన్పుట్ అంటే మొత్తం చెక్ చేసుకుని ఓకే కాదు చెప్తాను ఫినిష్ కొడితే అయిపోయింది. బిట్వీన్ రెండు పెట్టినాను సింగిల్ వాల్యూ 4 పెట్టిన మొత్తం ఇట్ షుడ్ బి 6 పార్టీషన్ 6 అదే రెస్ట్ ఒకటి అదర్ దాన్ దోస్ విల్ కమ్ అదర్స్ విల్ కమ్ ఎస్ 1 పార్టీషన్. ఇదొకటి రేంజ్ అండ్ 11 12 15 16 రెస్ట్ and then based on the data you insert the data will split across the range. Like this we can also do range partitioning using UI also. Yeah. See, look at this. When I say hash partitioning, you're splitting the table into all the servers based on the number of records. Okay. And when it's a range partitioning, you're splitting up data based on some time factor, date or month or year. Okay. And then we're going with what? Round robin partition. Round robin cannot be done with UI. It has to be done only with SQL state. See, round robin ante you basically you don't use any column and then do partition. It's like just split, having 4 blocks in a table, and data is moved across from one partition to another partition based on the application who is using it. Say for example, I create a table and I create 4 partitions on the table by using round robin. And when you insert data, you cannot control which partition it goes in. So the application which is using this table will control when the data should move to which partitions. Program will control that. Then we go with round robin. Application until let's say you have BW application sitting on top of HANA. I have my cube. So when you cube will have fact table, actually the fact table will have 4 partitions on round robin, where your ABAP program will control that data should move from partition 4 to 1 or 1 to 2 or 3 depending on its program. And using ABAP program will control the data to be moved to which partition block. It's not about data being equally split up or based on the year or month. Your program which is using this table will control the data to be moved to which block manually. Explicitly, the program will control that. Application will control that. So using round robin, you can say how many partitions you want, but how are those partitions being leveraged will be controlled by the application running on top of it. Okay. నీకు ఇప్పుడేం కనపడదు బట్ ఆ టైప్ చేసిన అయిపోయింది. Okay, this is my table and this is what I'll do. Partition by what? Round robin, how many partitions you want? This one does not use any column. So when it does not use column, it is clear that it is not splitting the data based on the column values or something. you will just have some program or application which is using it will control which data should be moved to which partitions when. And round robin is partition is one leverage for fact table of your cube in BW. Yeah, I'll show you. We'll control that later, but now in this case we cannot really control they go into which partition bus. Your program should control them. Round robin. Actually, all the data will go into 4 actually. I said round robin, expand this and partition number 4, if you go to right, 4, how many did I insert? 6 records. So 4 records into partition number 2 and 2 records. But I cannot control this. It does split it. So there should be some program at the top which will say, okay, first when you're inserting, please insert into partition number 4. Then when you do this process like compression or of the queue or something, then data from fourth partition has to go to first partition or second partition or third partition. ఇప్పుడు అన్ఆప్టమైజ్డ్ క్యూబ్ అనుకో అన్ఆప్టమైజ్డ్ క్యూబ్ ఎస్పీ ఉంటే అన్ని కింద అన్ని 4 క్యూబులు అన్ని ఇట్లే ఉంటాయి ఇదే కాన్సెప్ట్ ఐ షో యూ యాక్చువల్గా ఏం చేస్తారు ఐ కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు ద టాపిక్ లేటర్ బట్ ఈ క్యూబ్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్ టేబుల్ and fact table is partition with 4 partition with round robin and what are the data you load first the data will get into partition number 4 when you compress the cube data from fourth partition will get into first partition. So in case of a cumulative cube normal cube it does use partition number 1 and partition number 4. Suppose I create a non-cumulative cube like inventory cube, okay, so inventory cube also will have fact table, it will have partition number 1 2 and 3 and 4 and the data what you load will again come into partition number 4. When you, if it's a non-cumulative, when you compress, do you say marker and no marker? When you compress with marker initializing stock, then the data will go into partition number 2. When you compress the stock with only movements, then it will go to partition number 3. So for 2 and 3 is used only if you're working with non-cumulative cube. If it is cumulative cube, 1 and 4, like as if 1 is your E table and the 4 is your F table లాగా వాడుకుంటున్నాం because in unoptimized cube there is no E table, you'll have only F table bus. సో దాంట్లోనే పార్టీషన్స్ క్రియేట్ చేసి దాన్ని ఎఫ్ ఈ లాగా వాడుకుంటాడు అన్నట్టు జనరలీ ఇఫ్ యూ సీ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఎఫ్ టేబుల్ ఈ టేబుల్ ఇన్ ద నార్మల్ బీడబ్ల్యూ సిస్టమ్ నార్మల్ క్యూబ్ బట్ ఇన్ అన్ఆప్టిమైజ్డ్ క్యూబ్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఓన్లీ వన్ టేబుల్ ఎఫ్ టేబుల్ and partition number 4 itself is used as F and partition number 1 is itself used as E table. So before compression it will be in 4, after compression it will be in 1. But in case of partition number 2 and 3 will be used only in case of non-cumulative cube. 2 for initial stock, 3 for all the movements. So who is controlling it? Your ABAP compression process is controlling which data should be moved into which block. That's where they use round robin partition. Okay. Okay. And then there is also concept called multi-level also. What I want to I've got 4 index servers. I have a huge table. I would like to split partition this table first, initially splitting to 4 different servers. So part 1 is in server 1, server 2, server 3, server 4. So I use what? Hash partitioning. Again, in each server, I would like to split on year wise again. So first I want hash partitioning, then within hash partitioning, I want what? In each server, I would like to have range partitioning on year wise. That is called multi-level partitioning, which is also possible. Okay. Hello? Can you hear me now? Okay. Someone unmuted me. Okay. Yeah. That is all. That is all. We say server load. We'll have something called load balancing. See, if I try to log into the server bus, so there's nothing like there's no dedicated server which is allocated in a distributed system. Whichever the server is free, I get connected to that and I insert record, and the data gets into that particular block. You cannot really control how many records will be in block one, how many records will be block. You cannot control. Only thing is you're splitting the size of the table to all the server. That's the concept of hash. But generally, it is understood it goes equally. That's what they say. Yeah. The perfect. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. If you're doing some querying explicitly on where, if the condition is where year is equal to so and so, where my month is equal to so and so, then range partition will help you. But if you're just trying to select star from table, then my hash partition will help you. When you explicitly using where clause on a particular year wise or month wise, then range partition will help you. But if you say, I'm just saying select star from table, then hash partition will help you. That's all. For mass reading, hash partitioning. For selective reading on year wise, month wise, then range partitioning. Year wise, no HANA server visible. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Yeah. For fact table, they use round robin. Fact table is use case for round robin, but round robin is like you create partitions and application which is using this table will actually push the data in and out of different blocks. We cannot control. Yeah. But at the means when you're writing select, you say I want to read from this partition. No, no. It no. We just say select. That's it. The system will take care of using those partitions. See, round robin is about just creating the number of blocks in a table, and we cannot control the data to be moved into which block. It is all controlled by the application which is using the table. Say, for example, I have BW on HANA, which is an ABAP system sitting on top of HANA. So, ABAP program in my BW system will control which data should be sit into which partition and when to move that data to which partition. Okay, that is round robin partition. They will stop it here, and you'll not have class tomorrow and day after tomorrow. You'll meet on Monday. From then, next weekend you'll have class. So next we'll focus on altering the table, then views all this. So before I stop, see you wanted videos, right? So, now look at this. If you want, I'll be sending you a document like this. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, I'm showing you how do you set up the videos. What I give you now. Okay. If you focus now, you can do setup on your own. Otherwise, you'll keep calling me. Huh? Just focus. I'll be sending you this document. First, you'll have to open this link. Okay, when you open this, you get a screen like this where you'll have to download this. We call it as ASPS browser, Artiscope browser. You just download it and it gets a download folder and install that file. So you have to install this ASPS browser first. Okay. Then if you go to page number 2, you see one more link, APM reader, Artiscope reader. Again, you just click this link, it download a zip file, unzip it, you'll find an exe file and just run that. It will say you want to install next. You accept the license and next. That's it. So you have installed what now? ASPS browser, and then you also install what? Reader bus. Okay. Then once you install this, I would, if you give me your all your mail IDs, I'll create one user login. So mostly it will be your username at the rate gmail.com, and for your name, right? Password will be your name 123 something. Okay. or different thing. Okay, you will get a mail saying this is your user ID and this is the password. Okay, then what you do is, if you go down this page, you see this login page here. Okay? Once you get the login, when you install this browser, you will find this icon, Artiscope web browser. Just go in and give your link here, login link here. Okay, say go. You get to see this login screen. Then you start giving your username and password, login this. So you should do like this. When you log in, first time when you log in like this, just don't do anything. Just go to my media something. You'll find some files. You don't have to do anything. Just click here and there twice or thrice like this and say what? Log out. Okay. Again log in. Mm. Do 3 times. Okay. Again log in. Again just click twice or thrice here and then click what? Log in. Again 3 times you have to do like this and call me. You getting what I'm saying? You will first from this word, I'll send this Word document to you all now. You should download this Artiscope browser, install it first. Then in the second page, you see one more link. You have to install what? ASPS reader. It's a zip file. You download that zip file and install that also. Then once you download, by the time I would have created your user ID, you'll get a mail to your Gmail saying your user ID is so and so, password is so and so. Then using this login link, you have to log in through what? Which browser? Not your Gmail. You have to log in to that link through what? ASPS browser. If you go to home, you'll have to give your login link here and say go. Give your user ID and password. Login. Just click 2 3 links there and then log out. Do 2 to 3 times like that. Okay, boss. Okay. Clear on this? Once you do that, what you do is just create some folder in Windows. Yeah, sorry, on the desktop, saying like this, HANA videos. Okay, and I would have sent you one Google Drive file. Okay, to all your email. Just download that file onto your folder and keep it ready. You got what I'm saying? First, you'll download the browser, you will and install it. You'll download the reader and install it. And then if you got your login details, you log in twice or thrice to the same login system, and then will call me, boss. And before calling me, I would have sent you the archive file also. I would have sent you the video files as a Google Drive. Just download that file. You'll have the .apm. You'll have that file as .apmf. Okay, download that file and store it in a desktop, like in a folder like this, and then call me. Then what I'll do, once you logged in, I will send you you'll get one more mail. You'll get a token and download the same token to the same folder here. Okay. Then that will be a zip file. Okay. For example, this is like you get a token. It's just 1 KB. Yeah? You'll get token like this. So already you might have some archive file. I'll tell you. See, when you download, you'll get an archive file like this. Your Google Drive is download this, it will archive file వస్తుంది. And then once you tell me you logged in twice or thrice and tell me, then I'll send you a token, which is just 1 KB. So now you have an archive file and you have a token. You have to right click on this and say unzip it. Okay. But when I extract this, what is happening? This zip folder is unzipped here, but the file is here, right? The file should come onto the same folder where my archive file is also there. Here in token, unzipped file, and this both should be in same folder. Okay. And now this is the archive file and this is the token. And once you get the token unzipped and make sure the token is placed on the same folder where my archive file is there, then you say rename this for the token. Okay, just say rename and remove first 6 characters 120447. Just remove first 6 numbers. Then you will double click on this, it starts opening up. It will open up like నాకు ఇది కాదు నీకు చూపిస్తా. 4 months. It will open up like this. As soon as you double click on it, it will automatically open this in the Artisco, but it works like this. You get links here, and when you click this, it will play a video to the right. You'll get all 5. That's why I'm saying I'll send you 5 days at one stretch. When you click this, it play a video, and just click on it, it starts playing that video. You got this, boss? So now if you give your email IDs, I'll be just creating user IDs for everyone. You'll be getting a mail saying your user ID is so and so and password is so and so. And you'll get one more email with this Word document where you can download the browser, reader, and then log in. You should log in twice or thrice and log out. Yeah. Then at the same time, you'll get one Google Drive file, archive file. Download that archive file and keep it in a folder. Then after doing all this, if you call me, I can just send you one token because I will know then you logged in. Then once you get the token, download the same token and unzip it in the same folder. Remove first 6 numbers. Then you can double click and play it. And one more thing you can miss out sometimes, the video may not play if you don't have this. Okay, 1 second. You'll have to get into this get.adobe.com/flash player also because that needs a flash player. So let me put this also. So I'll put this also as download flash player. You use this link to download your flash player. Just get in and say install now and install your flash player also. Flash player is needed to play that video. Boss. So once you do download all this and set up and then log in twice or thrice and make sure to download even the archive file what I send you. I'll be sending you this notepad Word document and also the archive file. Follow these instructions, download that archive file into folder and keep it ready. Then if you call me after logging in twice or thrice, if you call me, I can send you generate a token for you. Then the token you can download the token for you in the same folder, unzip it, remove first 6 numbers, just double click on archive file, it should open up your browser. Nothing else. Okay. Yeah. People who are at online, just ping all your email IDs in this now. Just ping out. People who are in online, just ping out all their email IDs now. rvssagar.gmail. Yeah. Everyone ping out, bus. People who are in online, just ping your email ID so that I'll be sending it out. Or any issue, you can. My number is 888-623-0001. You can call me if there's some. If you not got something, you should receive your email for your archive file and this Word document by 11 o'clock, 11:30. If you're not received, just call me once. Okay. And offline, you have to type in all your emails here. Just type in all your email address here. So you're done. I gave my number, right? So your online is done. You've typed in all your email IDs, boss. Everyone is done. If anyone is left, please ping your email IDs, boss. I'm just closing it now. Yeah? You're done. So if everyone is done, I'm just closing it out, boss. Okay, fine. I'll send. Just PDF I'll just send normally, but videos will get it like this. For the same mail, if there's the PowerPoint and the Notepad files, I'll send it as an attachment. Okay. You're done. I'm closing it, boss. I gave no boss. It's 888-623-0001. Okay, I'm just closing it now. So So you'll not have class tomorrow day after, it will be on Monday. So, so in the last class we've been seeing about the database table. The next one is while creating a table, we have an option called logging. Logging, or by default, the table would have the property as logging. You can set it to no logging also. For example, if you can do this in the, even in the UI when you say new table. Here you can the option called what is no logging. So in the while creating the table with UI, you can set the table as no logging here, or with SQL you can set that as no logging here with the command also. Either ways. Now what happens when you set that by default the table is logging. So when the table is set by default as logging, what does it mean? The table is persistent, it's global, and data is persistent and data is global. Everyone can see the table, everyone can see the data in the table also. But when you set that as no logging, it means look at this. The table is persistent and global. The structure of the table is physical, and everyone can see that it's global. But the data is temporary and global. In the local table, what happens? Data was local to that particular session. But here the data is global, but the data is temporary. Temporary means it is not stored completely 100% for a longer period, and the table will be dropped. Like you can specify some retention period, say 300 seconds or whatever it is. Once the time period is lapsed, when the memory is completely used by 80%, this table will be dropped. That's why we say data is temporary. The table is physical, global. Data is also global. Everyone can see, but the data is temporary. When you say no logging, you specify the retention period, say 300 seconds or 600 seconds. After this time has lapsed, the table will be dropped when the physical memory is used by 80%. That is what you say, no logging. Okay. But we cannot see that effect, but still, if we just so with the SQL command, when you're creating the table, should see some font here. Hmm. Say create column table so and so. So in the SQL, you use this command saying what? By default, it is logging is enabled. But if you want to set it as no logging, we use a command say no logging, and with the keyword retention, you specify how many seconds the data should be retained. After this 300 seconds has been elapsed, and when the physical memory is completely used by 80%, this data will be dropped. That's why you're saying data is global but temporary. Once the physical memory is used by 80%, this data will be dropped. Okay. Now I just create this table and I insert. I won't see these records. Even if I open a different session, I can still see these records. What is good? Data is global. It can be available in multiple sessions, but This is temporary. Automatically, the data will be dropped when the physical memory is used by 80% and when the time is left. But for me, there's no scenario where it does use 80% of the RAM here on the data available. Okay, when the main memory is completely used by 8, this table will be data will be dropped. That is what no logging. Okay, so when you feel this table is not so important, when the memory is getting filled and you want this table to be dropped out, then you go with what? No logging. And then auto merge bus. So while creating a table, I'm not performing merging now. While creating a table, you can set up the table for auto merge or disable auto merge. When you enable auto merge, what does it mean? The merge column table will need a merging process to move the data from Delta store to what? Main store. When you say auto merge is enabled on this table, you'll have a process called merge dog, which will constantly check the tables and merging based on the auto merge decision function. You remember? So whether you want the system to do the merging on it automatically or not. Do you want the merge dog to take care of merging on this table or not? If you enable auto merge, merge dog will, the table is enabled so that if you enable a table for auto merge, your merge dog will be constantly checking your table